Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Alright, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast with Kevin and Chuck. Today we're going to talk about, well, basically assessing your preparedness level. I want to talk about, really in order to evaluate where you're at as a prepper, where your deficiencies are, your positives, your negatives. So you kind of need to, dig deep and understand what are your goals, what are your potential threats, what are you prepared for. I know we've talked about things like this in the past. We talk about, how do we get prepared? How do I figure out my supplies? But basically at the start of spring here, what I want to do is talk about, I basically want everybody to kind of go through your inventory, say, all right, am I weak on security? Am I weak on my food storage? And it kind of gives you a starting point of, you know what, I should really focus on this right now.
Right.
And that's what I'm going for. So we're going to kind of go through some topics, go through some overall preparedness of what you need to think about. And then you can kind of decide, hey, where am I lacking? What do I need? And it gets you kind of back on track, back looking at the bigger picture, deciding, hey, where do I fall in and where am I falling short? Kevin, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with risk management. Assessing what your real risks are.
What's going to happen?
Right. So somebody in Minnesota is going to have a different preparation plan than somebody in Florida.
Well, when I was doing my research here, I came across on FEMA's website, and they had a list of some potential threats. Is that where you were going, or?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
All right. So, and again, some of these are going to apply to you. Maybe volcanoes don't.
Right.
Maybe tsunami doesn't affect you if you live in Kansas. But tornadoes might.
Right.
So, let me shoot through some of these. Or you had something? Or
no, go ahead.
You're good? All right. So, they said floods, thunderstorms and lightning, tornadoes, heavy snowfall, hurricanes, extreme heat, earthquakes, volcanoes, wildfires, tsunami, landslides. Not something I considered, but I know, where my parents live in North Carolina, they have landslides, that kind of things.
Yeah, it's been happening out in California right now, too.
It depends on the weather. Are you by a nuclear power plant? So there's some issues there, maybe some concerns. And then the obvious, as a prepper, you think chemical attack, EMP attacks, civil unrest. So, there's a big spectrum. People also talk about economic collapses, some of their concerns. So these are just some of your starting points of, think of the ones that relate to you and where you live. Or what are your concerns? What are you trying to be prepared for?
Right.
We're not all have the same paranoia and, different things. But these are things to think about, What are your goals? And, as a prepper, what are you after?
I think one of the things that I've been thinking about with this is you need to plan for, look at your supplies and think, can you go without leaving your house for a week? Can you go without leaving your house for 2 weeks? If you're bugging in, how stocked are you?
When the snowstorm comes, you're stuck in the house for 2 weeks. All right, maybe it's 3 days, maybe it's 5 days. I've heard of people out in Utah and different things where it's 10 or 15 days. I was just reading a survival manual, and the guy's like, a blizzard hit and the roads weren't going to be cleared. And when there's 2 feet of snow on the road and nobody's plowing it, you're not getting out even with your 4-wheel drive,
Right.
You might go a quarter mile, but you're probably not going everywhere you need to.
Right.
And that's stuff you got to plan for. The guy said, my family would have starved to death, except my neighbor kind of knew I was in the same boat. He knew I just moved into the area and decided after 5 days I should go over and check on them and make sure they're okay. And that's the kind of thing, are you prepared for that level?
Right. One of the things I like to think about is what are the worst case scenarios? How do you prepare for the worst case scenarios? Say you're in your vehicle and you get, slide off the side of the road,
right,
in a snowstorm. Maybe nobody can see you from where you're at. What do you do to prepare for that? What do you have in your vehicle? Those sorts of worst case scenarios are good ways to kind of think about what you're missing. Do you have a fire extinguisher in your kitchen? If you have a grease fire, are you ready for that? Is your best idea to throw water on the grease fire? What's your preparation for these worst case scenarios? So I wanted to, maybe we can just do a run through on things that you might want to have on your checklist.
All right.
First things first is always water, right?
All right.
If you're just on municipal water, you might want to have some backup plans.
Yes.
Do you have water filters? Do you have water stored? Take an inventory of that stuff. Maybe some chemical purification tablets handy. You want to have redundancies for these sorts of things, especially water.
One of the things to remember, your water heater.
Right.
Full of water.
Full of water. That's right. But, back of the toilet's a great one. But
Kevin's always drinking out of the back of the toilet.
Yeah, I drink out of the bowl,
right
too, with my dog,
So whatever.
But you want to have redundancies, and I don't mean instead of having 5 gallons of water, have 10 gallons of water. I mean, you want to have different ways that you can access water. Do you have a stream that you can just pull water out of and purify? Do you have, any sort of water tanks, rain collection systems, that sort of stuff? You just kind of want to go through this thing and think about your plan Bs,
right.
Food. Go ahead.
Food? Yeah, no, food's a great
food's a good one.
Point.
And, you might want to just go through. And the tricky thing with storing food is you want to really keep track of your expiration dates. Now, if you're stuck and you're eating, a can of beans that's a week past its expiration date, you're probably fine. But if you started, stocking up 3 years ago, and something happens now, and you go down to that old supply, and you realize everything's 2 years out of date,
right.
You might be in trouble. So you might want to keep an eye on that, rotating your stock. But keeping a list of what you have is a good way to, determine. You can cross things off as you eat them. If you didn't feel like going to the grocery store and you decided to just grab some right. canned food from the pantry.
And, I always... emergency food, your 25-year shelf life type stuff. You see it online, you got to watch for the sales. I mean, I know my Patriot Supply, like once a month, they have they'll do a month's supply for $99.
Mm-hmm.
And I always try and post it on our Facebook page if you guys are paying attention to it. And whenever they have it, I'm like, there's that deal again.
Yeah.
Because it's great when it's $99, and then you can go on there, 2 weeks later, and it's $217 for a month's supply.
Mm-hmm.
and then it's not so cool.
Yeah.
You know? But I gotta say, having that month's supply for one person, and then in a couple of months, when you have more money again, buy another one.
Right.
You know, you just do it in stages, and just over time, you end up, you know, and then all of a sudden you have 6 months. And you know what? 6 months when you have 6 people in your family, then it's whatever. But, so, all right, so we got water, we got our food supplies. Now, what about security?
I think that's pretty important.
All right, are you stocked up with your guns, your bullets?
Right, and I think that's important. You know, keeping a inventory checklist would be a good idea for something like that.
I know some of our listeners out there in Australia, you can't have guns.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about they're going to keep the big spider, keep them ready by the door, and just
throw the spiders
keep
at
them
them
in a jar, and then you smash the jar on the floor.
Yeah, it's the little poisonous ones. Those are the ones you need.
Ones. They're just
Spiders.
Creepy.
So another thing with the security though is you know, if you're preparing for a storm, you know, maybe a good thing to have handy is plywood. You know, boarding up some windows.
No, we talked about that. Yep.
Things like duct tape and that sort of thing. You know, securing your area. You know, screw gun would be great if it's charged up and you can just run out there and screw in 5 pieces of wood and cover up your big windows.
Yep.
You know, that's a good way to protect your house.
I was excited. I heard a fun fact the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I work this in? I got to get it. And here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So, turns out, number 1 and number 2 items bought at Walmart prior to a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
Want to guess what number 1 is?
I don't know. I would guess food.
Beer.
Beer. Oh, that's... See,
Number
those are
1.
people that are already prepared. They are just stocking up for the party.
Now, number 2 item sold at Walmart prior to a hurricane.
What is it?
Pop-Tarts.
Really?
They don't fuck around in hurricane
Beer and
country.
Pop-Tarts. Wow.
Beer and Pop-Tarts.
Wow, that's like some real quality preparations there.
Like, that's some good shit right there. I got to start stepping up my preps, you know?
Uh-huh.
No, not bad. So...
another good thing with security is you know, having a network. You know, if your power goes out and somebody up the street has their power on, you know, do you know that person? Will they let you come over and take a hot shower after, you know, sweating your ass off in your house for a week?
Oh.
You know, that sort of thing is important. Having a network of people when it comes to the security and protecting your neighborhood. Protecting your, you know, even your town.
Yeah. But really, honestly, everybody who can, you should have some kind of battle rifle. Maybe it's just a shotgun if that's your level of paranoia. I'd like it to be an AR-15. But, you know, something. Maybe an AK-47 if you're a psycho.
Mm-hmm.
You know, however you roll. Maybe the SIG. They make a nice...
SIG Sauer.
Yeah, I know.
That's, they've got some good 9 millimeters.
Yeah.
And that's a great handgun to
and that's the thing. I think you should all have a handgun. If you don't have your concealed carry, maybe that's what you work on this spring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe you get around to finally doing that.
Right. And remember, firearms aren't useful if you don't know how to use them. If you can't hit what you're aiming at, then having a rifle or having a pistol is not going to do you a lot of good.
Nope.
So when you get it, you know, find a gun club. Find a field in a friend's house, a friend's backyard or something, but find some place where you can fire off a few rounds and make sure you can
get out and get shooting.
Yeah, you can use it.
All right, so we got security, communications. Did we cover that?
No, we didn't get into that yet.
So a couple of things with that I wanted to hit on.
Okay.
You know, you guys have heard me talk about like ham radio or those talk about, you know, handheld CBs. Maybe some kind of scanner. Maybe those should make your list. Also, some kind of NOAA radio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have those crank with the flashlight.
Yeah.
And then the, you know, I see the crank ones for like $19 with a flashlight, a USB charger, and then, you know, the NOAA weather bands and things like that. You know, that's a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
You need something. So the idea, we just want to keep going through here, and as these things hit, go, oh, you know what? I was all good on, you know, step A, B, and C, but
Yeah.
D, I'm missing it.
Yeah.
So I just want
And,
you guys to start thinking,
even with
get the wheels
communications, the basics, when you jump in your car in the morning and drive off to work and you grab your phone, but the phone's almost dead and you don't have a charger in your car, you might as well not have a phone. That even something as simple as getting stranded on the side of a empty road and you with 4% power on your smartphone, you can find yourself in trouble.
All right. Sounds right. What you got next?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is toiletries. If you get stuck in your house for an extended period of time and you're rationing out food so you're not as healthy as you could be, living in your own filth is a good way to get sick. You know what I mean? If you can't clean up after yourself, if you don't have soap, if you don't have disinfectant, cleaning products, that sort of stuff, it's going to get nasty quick.
Yeah, a lot of people are big on, like the body washes,
Mm-hmm.
the gels, and they, they're cool and they're great, that's how I shower, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But a bar of soap is going to last 1,000,000 times longer
Mm-hmm.
than your body wash for your bang for your buck.
Right.
So when, I do my preps, you go to a Sam's Club or something, the big thing, 12 Irish Spring bars is like $8 or something.
Right.
And you buy 2 or 3 of those, it's going to go a long way, especially if you're being conservative with it.
Right.
You can really
and
get
it doesn't
some
take up
mileage out of no money.
much space, right?
Right.
I know I'm a little bit of a paranoid hand washer, but I don't get sick very often either. If if that your immune system's worn down from not getting enough calories, it might be something that could be the difference between life and death.
Yep. So what else? I know it was a big thing having your emergency medications.
Mm-hmm.
We always talk about that. A lot of this was covered in the before the storm, but this
Mm-hmm.
is overall preparedness. This is what we do, is prepping,
Right.
Keeping gas tanks full.
Mm-hmm.
Do your animals need any special stuff if they're going to be stuck with you for a week or two?
Right. Right. If you don't give a shit about your animals, don't worry about it. But, if you're not an asshole and you like your animals and you take care of your animals, you want to be able to feed them. You want to have something for them. You want to have an extra bag of dog food. So, I mean, just keep that in mind when you've got animals.
Now, another thing that comes up, another emergency, this is another thing off the FEMA website when I was on there. Believe it or not, the U.S. averages 100 evacuations a year,
Mm-hmm.
where they evacuate cities. So that's a real possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Can you grab your stuff and go?
What I was thinking about was how proficient are you changing a tire? When's the last time you did it? Do you have a spare tire that's actually a tire?
Can you do it if I'm shooting at you?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a simple thing, but, maybe tomorrow a good idea would be to take out your spare tire and change out one of your tires. Does it take you 5 minutes? Does it take you 2 hours?
Is there a spare
Is there
tire?
a spare tire there? Is there a
it
jack?
flat?
Is there, there's a lot of
Can you get
stuff that
those
comes
lug nuts
involved.
off?
Right. There's
Maybe
a lot of
not.
stuff involved that, if you're not ready for it, you might find yourself in trouble over something stupid.
Gas cans? Do you have some gas around?
Mm-hmm. Do you have cold weather gear in your house, in your car? Do you have ice cleats? Do you have snow shovels? Things as simple as that. Do you have flashlights where your family can
I'm
find them?
always 150-pound bag ahead of rock salt
Yeah.
every year. Because you got to stay on top of it. Because everybody at the storm,
Right.
crap, what do I do?
Right.
And honestly, I'm just always paranoid that I never know when I'm going to go out one winter morning and go, fuck, the driveway's all ice. And I'm
Right.
screwed. And, and it takes 50 pounds on my driveway, to get out of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Another thing that's important that maybe you want to make it your focus is just the overall fitness. Just overall strength, endurance, that sort of stuff. if you have to get out of your house quick and the streets are jammed, can you pull your car over to the side of the road and make 10 miles?
Hoofing it. I like it. Also, do you know the escape routes? And what I mean by that, I don't mean getting out of your house when there's a fire. That's a good idea too, whatever. But, if there was an evacuation, really, could you get out of your city in a quick hurry without, maps and GPS?
Right.
What if your GPS doesn't work?
Another thing that's good on the same sort of scale is keeping your car up to speed, keeping your vehicle, equipped properly, but also having a good understanding of the back roads too. Yes. Being able to know that you can take a right on this dirt road and it's going to bring you out to someplace reasonable instead of some redneck's backyard.
Or maybe some redneck's backyard is where you want to be.
That's right.
That's where I'm going. What else?
All right. One of the other things I wanted to talk about was basic camping gear. If you find yourself...
so you do bug out.
Right, you do bug out.
There's an evacuation and all the hotels are all full up.
Right.
For anywhere you want to drive to.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin likes to camp.
I do. But, just...
Do you like to camp in a hurricane?
No.
Oh.
Just as something as simple as a heavy-duty sleeping bag.
Yes.
Can make a big difference. I like the whole 9 yards. I got the 2-man tent, the 3-man tent, the 10-man tent, the whole thing, air mattresses and sleeping bags, and I can go as Hollywood or as minimal as I feel like, How much do you want to carry? If you're throwing it in your car, bring everything. Screw it, But if you're throwing it on your back, that's a different story.
Yep. Now, some other things. General, do you have any more camping? Or
No, go ahead.
You off? All right. So, do you know, and I know we've mentioned almost everything, because that's what preppers talk about, is all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to hit all these points. Bam, bam, bam.
Right.
So that way, you guys say, hey, you know what? That one I'm missing.
Right.
That one's the one I need to step up this year and turn things around. But do you know where the shutoffs are? If your stove is sparking and on fire, do you know how to shut off the stove breaker? Do you know how to shut off all the electric in the house? Mm-hmm. Do you know how to shut off the water in your house? When you go down there, is that shut-off valve going to be all rusty and nasty?
Right.
And when you turn it, it's just going to drip all over everything?
Uh-huh.
This is the kind of thing you prepare for. Gas. Do you know how to shut off the gas? The propane, the gas behind the stove. Can you shut off the stove without shutting off the, water heater? Mm-hmm. These things,
Right.
These are things you should be stepping up because overall preparedness in life, anything happens. If you live somewhere where hurricanes, tornadoes, that kind of stuff, are your things secured? Is your water heater going to tip over and crash if you're in California and, you live in Oakland or whatever and things are rocking and rolling? What's going to come crashing down? Is your house a little bit prepared for that?
Yeah. You know what I've noticed though, since I started doing the show, since I started getting into prepping, I have less and less emergencies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just because I'm prepared for it. When I pick up a nail in the tire, that's no big deal. It's a 10-minute inconvenience. That's
right.
all it is.
Right. And it really is stepping that stuff up. Mm-hmm. I'd go on hikes and we wouldn't have extra water bottles for the kids.
Right.
Now there's a water bottle in the car, so I don't think about it. I go, oh, here,
yep.
Done. Band-Aids. Oh, I have a little first aid kit in the car because I'm already there. Mm-hmm. Flashlights. My kids are like, oh, Dad, I need batteries, whatever. You know what? I work off it. I buy at Sam's Club those 48 batteries, AA or something for $20. Mm-hmm. I have one full set in my bug out bag. And then I have a second one that I work out of for the family, dishing them out. Mm-hmm. And as soon as it even gets close, I'm buying the next one. Mm-hmm. But I'm always a full set ahead, so that way the end of the world, I got batteries.
Right,
it's
covered.
not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I also have solar charging, and we've talked about all those things. I have all kinds of, N loop batteries and different things. But it doesn't matter because I have ready to go with the Duracell or whatever right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing, like you said. Nothing phases me when it comes up.
Right.
You know, because I stockpile food and I have things ready.
Mm-hmm.
The wife's like, oh, you know, we don't have any spaghetti sauce. Yeah, no problem. I'll go downstairs. I have more.
Right.
You know, oh, I have a half a cow in the freezer. I got something for dinner.
Right.
You know, I don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are the kind of things, you know, that prepper lifestyle. It doesn't, just like I was saying before, is it doesn't cost you more if you just buy like one extra here and there.
Right.
You don't go and do everything all at once. You say, oh, you know, I have a little extra money this week and I'm driving by the gun store. I'll buy another 400 rounds of AR, 5.56 ammo.
Yeah. And if you're new to prepping, I would not recommend going out and spending large amounts of money and trying to get everything.
You're making a mistake.
Right. Do little steps at a time. You'll see what works, what doesn't work.
But as you're hearing these things, I mean, you know, one of these things had to hit you and say, you know what, I'm weak on that. And you know what? If you got all this covered, you really need to get back to that night vision episode. And you want to check that shit out because that shit's just awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe some suppressed weapons.
I wanted to touch real
There's
quick
always
back
room
on...
in the gun and ammo department.
There always is, right?
I'm just saying.
You can never have enough.
Step up your knives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can drop some coin.
Another thing I wanted to hit on real quick is going back to the meds.
Yes.
You should have a supply to deal with large-scale injuries. You know what I mean? Heavy gauze, tape, the whole 9 yards. Pain medication, Tylenol and aspirin, that sort of stuff. You know, need to know what thins your blood and things that'll reduce inflammation. Those sorts of things are important. Just knowledge and skills when it comes to that sort of stuff. Because a lot of stuff you just aren't going to be able to get to the doctor fast enough. Yeah. You know, if you have a serious issue with someone losing a lot of blood, you having the right equipment there might make a big difference.
If you got the time, you have all this stuff covered, maybe the EMT course is what you do this summer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you, take the CPR class if you don't have time for the full-on, EMT course.
Yeah, the Red Cross does some pretty good first aid classes that are inexpensive and one-day classes, and you can get a lot of information.
A lot of good stuff out there.
But, the most important thing to have is a skill set. You know what I mean? If you don't know how to use what you have, then you might as well not have it. So, a warrior mindset, a knowledge of how to use your equipment, and an amount of comfort using your equipment, One thing I missed here, just going back, is we were talking about food.
Yes.
You got to make sure you have something to cook the food with. It's great to have a bunch of freeze-dried stuff in your basement, but if you can't heat up water, then you're gonna be in for a tough time.
Sounds good. You saw that little video I put on YouTube with the can of tuna?
No.
No.
I missed it.
See? That's where you went wrong.
I gotta be on top of it, yeah.
The guy heats up the water by burning the oil out of his tuna.
Uh-huh.
Then he eats the tuna.
Ooh.
Secret of the pros right there. No, that's just crap, huh? Yeah, but I got Pop-Tarts, so don't even worry about it.
Right. You got Pop-Tarts and you got beer. You're in business.
I heard something on the radio. They were talking about Starbucks has Pop-Tarts now.
I don't know.
They
about
charge
this.
like $7 or something.
Yeah, that sounds like
pastries
Starbucks.
Or something.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I heard they were Pop-Tarts and they were pretty slick. But no, that's I guess where we're at.
Yeah. Now, I went online before we did this show and just kind of looking around and seeing what they got. And I found a lot of great little checklists that you could just print out, as far as food and all the different categories we've kind of gone through.
Yeah.
And, it would be handy to have something like that printed out. And then you can just kind of go through the list, on a Saturday or something and just look around, see what you've got, see what you don't have, and just kind of put your mind towards the stuff that you're not ready for. You know, kind of focus on those areas. Even if it's just learning skills, then you know, spending an afternoon in the backyard trying to start a fire with flint. You know, spend an afternoon in the backyard, or you know, go on a small hike through the woods at nighttime. You know, are you ready to do that? Do you have the proper equipment for that sort of thing?
Shut
Are you
off
going to
the
break your
main
neck?
breaker in your house for 2 days.
Yeah.
See where you're at.
Turn the water off for 2 days. See what happens. So I think that
Or just go out camping and have a good time.
Yeah. Drink your beer, because beer has food quality, but food doesn't have beer quality, you know?
No, it
So
doesn't.
stock up on your beer and Pop-Tarts.
Sounds right. So with that, so you guys want to check us out at preppingbadass.com. You want to go and leave us a review on the iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go over to Patreon. You want to give us all your money.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely sounds like the first step to your prepping.
To your prepping?
Right there. And, Prepping Badass. Shoot us an email. Tell us what you're interested in. Tell us what your plans are for the summer, what you guys are after. And, I'm thinking we might be having a contest, some kind of promotion coming up in the next couple of weeks.
That sounds like fun.
So you might want to keep your ear open and see if maybe you can win some kind of food storage or maybe a fancy knife. Something cool.
Sounds exciting.
I think
a
we got
picture of me
good.
flexing my biceps.
Oh, that sounds good. So tell us what you're into and stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.